Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the program. I am your host, John Mark Escala, and this is the Contemporary Talk Show. Thank you so much for being here today. Everything is so fast now that we live in the internet age, and we can access almost anything. There are numerous literary works available on the internet. You can have everything you need with just one click. Today, we have invited three well known authors of the 21st century to share their writing experiences. Of course, as a successful and well known authors, they have encountered some difficulties and problems. Later on, we will ask them about the issues or challenges they have faced as a 21st century authors. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our 21st century authors, Miss Kyla Ocampo, Miss Trixie Magsisi, and Miss Abigail Postrado. Our first guest, she is a young author in the 21st century with 50 published books in just 1 year in the industry. Her books become well known and popular among young people. Let us all welcome Miss Kyla Ocampo. Good day, Miss Kyla. Welcome to the program.
Hi, honestly, this is my first talk show host guesting and I am nervous. By the way, thank you for inviting me to this program.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. I would like to ask you a question. What does it feel like to become a successful writer?
I am happy because people appreciate my books, but I feel pressure. There are a lot of what ifs, and one of them is what if I did not meet the expectations of my readers? But I am happy with where I am right now, and this is because of my supporters.
Of course, we all love your books. However, you mentioned expectations. Could you please tell us about issues that you are dealing with contemporary literature and educate us on them?
Actually, there are numerous issues and challenges in contemporary literature, and most of the writers like me are facing this, especially now that we are at the age of the internet. Everything is easy and quick, but I think the issue that I can share with all of you is the issue about too much reused and copied ideas. Because we have so many writers, sometimes their stories are much more similar to the previous works of famous writers. Sometimes they copied the story itself and changed the names and some places. And what's even sadder is that sometimes the reused or copied ideas are even more recognizable than the original work.
This is true. Almost new writers tend to copy the ideas of the book they have read. But I'm not saying that all writers, okay? Just to make things clear. Concerning what you have said, does reuse or copied ideas considered plagiarism?
That is a good question. Before I give my answer, let us first define plagiarism. According to the Edico blog, plagiarism is defined as stealing another person's expression of ideas or work without their prior consent and proper citation. So, yes is my answer. Plagiarism is a crime, that is a fact. If you stole someone else's idea or words and did not give credit to them, that person might notice that you stole his or her idea. And you can be punished for that because you did not ask for his or her consent. Reusing or copying someone else's idea is considered plagiarism unless you ask for permission to do so, which is kind of awkward, but that is the right thing to do. The idea of copying someone else's work is not good, and of course, please give respect to the original author. They work hard to complete that work and then you just copied it without their permission? If you want to publish a book, then do it yourself.
That is a good point, Miss Kyla. Plagiarism is plagiarism. Plagiarism occurs when you use someone else's idea without their permissions. I like that. But I have a question. How can we deal with this problem? I mean, do you have any ideas or solutions for how we can address this specific issue in 21st century literature?
It is natural to be inspired by the work of others when creating new work. However, there is a significant difference between being inspired and illegally copying. Another thing, if you make it with your skill, labor, judgment, and effort, that considered original according to the UK copyright law. If you want to be a successful writer, I recommend that you avoid stealing someone else's idea and instead create your own. People will appreciate your work more if you do not reuse or copy the ideas of others.
There are indeed so many ways to create unique work. You have given so many inspirations, so why would you copy someone else's work? Very well said, Miss Kyla. But before we proceed to our next author, what advice do you have for all aspiring authors who are watching right now?
One step at a time. I know it's difficult to take the first step, but I believe in you. There is no shortcut or easy way to become successful. You should have the patience to wait for your turn, and while you wait, you should start preparing yourself. You must be determined to achieve your goals. You must not give up on minor problems, and you must be tough. Because being successful entails a plethora of responsibilities. Remember that if you can create something unique, you will almost certainly be successful right away. Your work should inspire people.
Very meaningful message, Miss Kyla. Thank you for educating us about this certain issue in the 21st century. Let us give her a round of applause. Now, it's time for us to hear from another valued guest we have today, none other than Miss Trixie Magsisi. Miss Trixie, being one of the outstanding and famous 21st century writers in the Philippines, can you give me one issue that you are facing in the contemporary literature and enlighten us about it?
As a writer, there are a lot of issues in contemporary literature or in today's generation that even I experience continually. According to a web page entitled The Web Writer Spotlight, Marie Barnes 2020 addresses main issues that the writers are facing in the 21st century. One of these issues is that there are too many critics, and I totally agree with it because, as we all know, today's generation can easily access literary works, and it is also easy for them to publish their own opinion or even criticize the literary piece. With that, they can easily influence or affect the image of the writer or even the value of a certain piece.
Wow, that's a really interesting and relevant issue. But how can you say that there are too many critics, especially in this generation? Or what is the reason behind those criticisms?
According to Wayland's 2019 post, published on the website Helping Writers Become Authors, there are several reasons why there are too many critics, especially when the writers, just like me, are writing for modern audiences. Generally speaking, the modern audience is pretty story savvy. They've seen it all, or at least feel like they have. And they believe that they are qualified to provide judgment on what they have seen or read, not just on a personal level, but also on a technical level. Another is that modern readers don't have a lot of trust in their storytellers or writers. After a certain point, they tend to assume that any new story they try will probably disappoint them. Lastly, modern readers have their own taste in what they read, so they would always go for the ones that would match their preferred genre or topic to meet their satisfaction.
That's a very informative and helpful explanation that you have. I can see that this issue is quite serious and evident for the 21st century writers. Now, can you share solutions or personal suggestions to address this issue that you have mentioned to many critics?
Yes, of course. As a writer, I would love to encourage my fellow writers to have a strong spirit in pursuing their passion. They must have confidence in their work and learn to tolerate criticism. Instead of being awful, they must utilize their criticisms as a stepping stone to improve and go beyond their talents and skills. Moreover, writers should make the modern audiences to pay attention to their piece, much less approve of it, is to write their hearts out. Another is that writers must not be frightened of presenting unique ideas or works, and they should never let rejections and judgment put out the fire on their souls or prevent them from continuing to write. Writing is an art form for me. Thus, it should be stretched out since, after all, each writer has their own goals in pursuing their work, and critics or criticisms are actually present to enable writers in gaining a fresh or broader viewpoint, as well as open their eyes to topics they may have overlooked or never considered before. Yes, being a writer takes a lot of effort and challenges, but as a writer, we should not let anyone bring us down because these talents were given to us to share and educate readers or audiences around the globe. That's all.
Wow, thank you for that suggestion, Miss Trixie. I am sure that your solutions would inspire a lot of writers out there who are facing these kinds of issues. Let's give Miss Trixie warm applause. Let's go on to our next guest who started her career on a website called Wattpad, is now one of the Philippines' most popular 21st century writers. Let's all give Miss Abigail Postrado a warm welcome.
Hi everyone! Thank you so much for having me here.
It is our honor. Let's get started because I'm quite interested in hearing your thoughts on the obstacles and concerns that the contemporary writers face. So, to which issue or challenge do you believe you can relate the most?
That's a challenging one because, to be frank, when I first joined the world of literature, I faced a lot of issues and challenges. But if I had to choose one, I'd say there are so many writers and competition in our industry.
Could you please expand on that, Miss Abby?
According to Busao in 2016, there are so many authors nowadays because it is easier to print, sell, and distribute our works around the world. A writer 10 to 15 years ago would stay at home, write some stuff, and wait years for his writings to be written. People nowadays can easily share their work through the internet. The publishers and editors are more easily accessible. It is all because of the internet age.
And in your field, how has competition become a problem?
As I mentioned earlier, the digital age has resulted in the birth of an excessive number of authors. According to Barnes in 2020, there are many mediocre writers and authors on the internet, but there are also talented writers. Talented artists, on the other hand, are in high demand or non-existent. As a result, truly gifted writers must fight at least two fights at once. One against those who just want to be called writers, and the other against those who have the ability and potential to be great writers and authors. Furthermore, the numerous strategies to improve your talent and writings on the internet have made the rivalry between countless genuine and impostor talents more intense than ever before.
It's true that the birth of the internet led in many transitions and evolution of technology in civilization. But how can you deal with and resolve the problems you've raised?
As a writer who began my career through the help of internet, I suggest that aspiring authors practice writing as much as possible. Also, read often because reading will provide you with more insight and wisdom. We can't discourage other people from writing, whether they're talented or not. We should, however, stay ahead of the competition. To do so, we must first determine who our rivals are, discover what is popular today, and what genres people choose to read. That way, we'll be able to write something new that no one else has seen before. Lastly, instead of seeing your competition as threats, consider them advantages to improve your writing skills.
That's brilliant. I really like your idea of seeing them as an opportunity to grow rather than a competition. Thank you very much, Miss Abby, for providing a solutions to the problems you brought up. I'm sure your suggestions will be appreciated by the other aspiring and established authors. Thank you once again for your time and expertise.
Thank you also for allowing me to share my thoughts.
Let's give Miss Abby a warm of applause. Now that we are aware of the various issues facing by our 21st century writers, let us use this knowledge to better appreciate the hard work of our talented writers in the Philippines. I hope you gained a bunch of learnings today. Remember that writing is a means of expressing yourself and inspiring readers. Again, I am your host, John Mark Escala. Thank you very much, and mabuhay!